Hello dear students, welcome to the VLSI design course. This module is about the layout design rules for VLSI circuits. In our previous videos, we have discussed the realization of digital circuits using complementary CMOS logic, where an important point was that complementary CMOS logic realizes an inverting function using one pull up network pull down network pair, while a non-inverting function requires an additional inverter stage at the output. In another video, we discussed stick diagrams, which are a part of layout planning process for analog as well as digital VLSI circuits. And there we saw conventions to represent different layers of actual layout in stick diagram, including the contacts as well as vias. And finally, a number of examples were also shown about how to design stick diagram of any given schematic of a Boolean function. Now in this video we shall talk about technological aspects of physical layout of VLSI circuit. Especially we will see that what are the design rules and why they are important, and also we will talk about different categories of design rules which should be known by any designer in order to realize an efficient layout for area and performance. So what is the motivation behind layout design rules? We must be aware of the fact that from the physical layout point of view, a MOS transistor is actually a set of rectangles drawn on the silicon wafer using different layers or stencils or masks. For example, let's consider an NMOS transistor. Here we have a black background which represents a p-type substrate, and the transistor is merely a rectangle of polysilicon over a rectangle of n plus diffusion region. This shows that the layout is actually a top view of a VLSI circuit where different rectangles represents the physical aspects of the circuit. For example, terminals of transistors, power and ground supply rails, connecting wires, resistors, capacitors and inductors, etc. Now with modern circuits consisting of millions of transistors, how can we ensure that our layout, which is actually a set of billions of rectangles, when it is sent to the foundry for manufacturing, it shall be manufacturable and it will behave correctly after fabrication, and how to avoid certain problems resulting from wrong layout. For example, in layout we may have drawn two rectangles very close to each other and they result in a short circuit, or we may have drawn a rectangle of a certain wire very thin which may affect its conductivity and may result in poor behavior of circuit. So how to avoid these issues while designing the layout? And also we must consider the fact that the manufacturing process itself and the masks are not ideal. They also have certain variations in their parameters. So we must incorporate the tolerances of process while designing the layout. So these are the main motivation behind design rules. Actually we want to have a complete picture of various limitations of manufacturing process while design our layout, and this is done by defining a set of rules between layout designer and foundry, and these design rules are actually the limitations set on the geometry of the layout. These rules mainly specify minimum width of rectangle and various spacing constraints between them. A layout which satisfies all the design rules normally ensures that the resultant circuit will behave correctly. These rules are provided by the foundry to the layout designer in the form of technology libraries, so they act as a communication channel between the layout designer and the process engineers at the foundry. The basic aim of this whole specification is to obtain a high yield on silicon as well as circuit reliability. There are two approaches by which layout design rules are specified. First one is the conservative approach. In this approach, the design rules are specified by fixing the minimum layer dimensions and spacings slightly higher than those that can be actually handled by the fabrication process. For example, let's a certain fabrication process can successfully make a transistor of minimum length equal to 0.35 micrometer. But to be on safe side, we set a rule on the layout that the minimum width of polysilicon rectangle over a diffusion region must not be less than 0.4 micrometer. So we are providing a margin of 0.05 micrometer to the foundry to accommodate the process tolerances. In this way, we set limitation on the minimum dimensions of all components of a VLSI design by fixing values slightly larger than the ones that are actually manufacturable by the foundry. This approach results in high reliability and manufacturing yield, but it sacrifices some silicon area and achieves a slight increase in delay. Another approach is the aggressive approach, in which the design rules are set by specifying the minimum dimensions and spacing between the components whose values reach very close to the actual limits of fabrication process. As a result, a high performance in terms of silicon area and delay is achieved, but often reliability becomes a matter of concern. Now let's consider an example to see what kind of major design rules that we can have to make a minimum size transistor on a given technology. Rule number 1 specifies the minimum separation from contact to the edge of active diffusion area. Rule number 2 specifies the minimum size of contact. Rule number 3 specifies the minimum width of polysilicon layer, which corresponds to the length of transistor. Rule number 4 sets a limit on the minimum separation from the poly layer to the edge of contact. Rule number 5 and rule number 6 specify respectively the minimum length of active area and minimum width of active area. In addition, there are certain rules which specify the separation between NMOS transistor and PMOS transistors in a CMOS design. For example, rule number 1 specifies the minimum overlap or extension of N well over P plus active region. Rule number 2 specifies the minimum separation between N plus active region and N well of PMOS transistor. Similarly, rule number 3 specifies minimum separation between NMOS transistor and PMOS transistor. Now the design rules are specified in two ways, either in terms of lambda or in terms of absolute dimensions. The lambda rules were developed by Mead and Conway. These rules specify all layer constraints in terms of a specific parameter called lambda, and normally lambda is the half of feature length, that is the length of a smallest transistor that can be manufactured by a given technology process. For example, considering 90 nanometer CMOS process, the length of the smallest transistor is nearly equal to 90 nanometer, so 1 lambda is almost equal to 45 nanometer. Lambda rules have the advantage that they are scalable. It means that a layout designed following the lambda rules for one technology can be converted into a layout for another technology by simply changing the value of lambda according to the feature size of new technology. This approach was applicable in the past, but now with sub-micron process, we don't have linear scaling of process dimensions. So lambda rules are no longer valid in this case. A more practical approach for sub-micron process is specifying the constraints in terms of absolute dimensions in micrometer. And practically this approach can achieve up to 50% area saving as compared to lambda based design rule. And this is the approach which is currently being followed by the VLSI industry. Let's talk about the layout rules in Microwind tool. The Microwind software works on the lambda grid rather than microgrid. So as a result, a layout designed using one technology library can be easily simulated in any other library available in the tool. And Microwind supports a number of technology libraries which are presented in this table. The technology library file has an extension .rul. Here we have a list of technology library files along with the gate length of minimum size transistor as well as the value of 1 lambda. For example, 90 nanometer technology is selected by file cmos90n.rul. It has a feature size equal to 100 nanometer and value of lambda is equal to 50 nanometer. Similarly, for 45 nanometer technology, the feature size is 50 nanometer, whereas the value of lambda is equal to 25 nanometer. The important design rules in Microwind tool are divided into 7 main categories. These include design rules for N-well, rules for N and P diffusion, polysilicon rules, contact rules, metal layer rules, via and pad rules, etc. So let's discuss these rules one by one. There are 3 lambda rules for N-well. Rule 101 states that the minimum size of one of the sides of an N-well must be at least 12 lambda. Rule 102 states that the minimum separation between two N-well must be at least 12 lambda. And Rule 110 states that the minimum area of an N-well must be at least 144 lambda square. A number of design rules are specified for N and P diffusion regions. Some of them are as follows. Rule 201 states that the minimum N plus and P plus diffusion width must be at least 4 lambda. Rule 202 states that the minimum separation between two P plus diffusion region or a P diffusion and an N diffusion region must be at least 4 lambda. Rule 203 states that an extra N-well around a P plus diffusion region must be by 6 lambda. It means that the N-well must be extended around each side of diffusion region by at least 6 lambda. According to Rule 204, the minimum separation between N plus diffusion region and an N-well of a PMOS transistor must be at least 6 lambda. Rule number 205 states that the border of N-well after N plus diffusion region must be at least 2 lambda. Rule 206 states that the minimum separation between N plus and P plus polarization can be 0 lambda. Rule number 207 states that the border of N-well must be far from P plus polarization by at least 6 lambda. And Rule 210 states that the minimum area of a diffusion region should be at least 24 lambda square. There are a number of polysilicon rules as well, and important among them are as follows. Rule 301 states that the minimum width of polysilicon must be 2 lambda. According to Rule 302, the polysilicon gate must be extended beyond the diffusion layer by at least 2 lambda. And for high voltage MOS device, Rule 303 states that the polysilicon gate must be extended on diffusion layer by at least 4 lambda. Rule 304 states that the minimum separation between two polysilicon should be at least 3 lambda. And according to Rule 305, the minimum separation between polysilicon and any other diffusion must be at least 2 lambda. Similarly, Rule 310 states that the minimum surface area of polysilicon must be at least 8 lambda square. Contact rules specify the minimum dimension and spacing of metal contacts. Rule 401 states that the minimum width of a contact is at least 2 lambda. Rule 402 states that the minimum separation between two contacts should be at least 5 lambda. According to Rule 403, a diffusion region must be extended beyond the contact by at least 2 lambda. And if a contact is placed over a polysilicon, then according to rule 404, there must be an extra poly over the contact by at least 2 lambda. Similarly, according to rule 405, the extra metal must be deposited over the contact on each side by at least 2 lambda. According to rule 406, the minimum distance between a contact and edge of a poly gate must be at least 3 lambda. And according to rule 407, there must be extra poly 2 layer over the contact by at least 2 lambda. Among the metal rules, rule 501 states that the minimum width of a metal layer must be 4 lambda, and according to rule 502, the minimum separation between two metal layer must be 4 lambda, and the minimum surface area of a metal layer must be at least 16 lambda square. Via also must satisfy certain rules. For example, rule 601 states that the minimum width of a via must be at least 2 lambda, and minimum separation between two via is given by rule 602, which says that two vias must be separated by at least 5 lambda. Similarly, according to rule 603, the minimum separation between via and a contact can be 0 lambda. It means that contact and via can be placed arbitrarily close to each other. Similarly, according to rule 604, an extra metal must be deposited over via by at least 2 lambda on each side, and so on. Also, there are a number of rules for padding. Rule RP01 states that the minimum width of a pad must be at least 100 micrometers. Minimum separation between two pads must be at least 100 micrometer, and so on. So let's summarize what we have discussed in this video. Here in this video we discussed the layout design rules, which are a kind of protocol between a layout designer and a process engineer at the foundry. And layout design rules are specified to guarantee that a layout shall be correctly manufactured by the foundry. There are two ways of specifying the design rules. One is either specifying in terms of a parameter called lambda, or specifying in terms of absolute dimensions in micrometer. Lambda rules are also scalable rules because a layout design for one technology can be translated in another technology process by simply changing the value of lambda, whereas the micron rules are useful for sub-micron process, and they are used to optimize area and performance. So a good layout designer must keep in mind all important design rules whilst designing the layout. This concludes this lecture. We'll see you in the next video.